My wife served me divorce papers at my own retirement party while my children cheered best day ever. That's when I learned what betrayal really looked like. I'm Mason Crawford, 62 years old, and for 35 years I'd climbed electrical poles to keep their lights on. 35 years I'd worked overtime to pay for their dreams. And tonight, in front of everyone who respected my work, my own family celebrated destroying me. My wife Madison thought she was taking half of nothing. My son Logan believed he was watching a deadbeat finally get what he deserved. My daughter Sophia saw her chance to escape the embarrassment of having a blue-collar father. But here's what they didn't know. While they'd been planning my destruction, I'd been building an empire. I smiled, signed those papers, and opened my briefcase full of property deeds. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you're watching from, because tonight, you're going to learn what happens when quiet people decide they're done being quiet. Let me take you back to understand how we got here. In 1988, fresh out of trade school at 27, I started climbing poles for Cleveland Municipal Power. Rain, snow, ice storms, I kept the lights on. But somewhere along the way, my family decided that made me a disappointment. It started small. Madison would introduce me at neighborhood gatherings as my husband. He works for the city. Never he's an electrical lineman or he keeps our power running. Just works for the city, like I pushed papers in some forgotten basement office. The kids picked up on it early. Logan, now 26 and in medical school, learned to be vague about my job. When his friends' parents asked what I did, he'd say dad's in utilities. Never proud, never specific, just utilities. Sophia was worse. At 23, fresh out of her MBA program, she'd perfected the art of changing subjects when anyone asked about family. I overheard her once at a coffee shop with friends. "Your dad sounds amazing," one said about another girl's father who ran a tech startup. "What does your dad do, Sophia?" "Oh, he's between things right now." Between things. I'd worked the same job for 35 years, but it was the little moments that really showed me where I stood. Like when Logan needed money for medical school applications, $3,000 for fees, tests, everything. He asked me for it like I should be grateful he'd even considered me capable of having it. "Dad, I know you probably don't have this kind of money lying around, but..." I'd written the check without hesitation. That was 18 months ago. He'd never asked how I had it so easily available, or when Sophia needed a co-signer for her student loans. The bank required someone with stable income and good credit. She came to me last, after trying her mother's brother and 2 family friends first. "Dad, I hate to ask, but you're literally my only option." My only value was being the last resort. The worst part was watching Madison feed this narrative. At dinner parties, she'd laugh about my simple needs, how I was happy with my Red Wing boots and Carhartt jackets, how I didn't need much to be content. "Mason's not complicated," she'd say. "Give him his tools and his TV and he's fine," like I was some kind of pet. She'd complain to her sister about my lack of ambition. I heard the phone calls. He could have gone to trade school, become an electrical contractor, made real money, but he was too comfortable just being an employee. What she didn't know was that I'd been using that employee income very carefully. While she spent money at Target and took the kids to expensive restaurants, I'd been learning about real estate. While she bought new furniture and planned vacation trips, I'd been studying property values and rental markets. Every overtime shift, every weekend emergency call, every holiday I worked while they stayed home warm and safe, that money had a purpose. My first property was a small duplex in Lakewood. Bought it in 2008 when the market crashed, after 20 years of learning the business and saving every penny. $15,000 down, fixed it up myself on weekends. Within 6 months, I had reliable tenants paying me $1,200 a month, more than enough to cover the mortgage. But I never mentioned it. Madison would have found reasons we needed that money for other things. The kids would have seen it as proof they deserved more spending money. So I kept quiet and kept buying. Property 2 came in 2009, a single-family rental in Parma. Then a triplex in Lakewood in 2011, a small apartment building in Cleveland Heights in 2013, each one carefully selected, each one generating positive cash flow, each one completely invisible to my family. They saw me come home dirty, exhausted, and assumed that meant unsuccessful. They never wondered why I wasn't stressed about money. Never questioned how we always seemed to have what we needed, even on my supposedly limited salary. The disrespect became routine. Logan would borrow 200 here, 500 there, always with the same tone, like he was doing me a favor by giving me the chance to help him. Sophia treated family dinners like charity work. She'd show up, eat her meal, and scroll through her phone. And Madison, she'd started looking at me like I was a problem that needed solving, like my presence in her life was holding her back from something better. I began staying late at job sites, not because the work required it, but because home felt like a courtroom where I was permanently on trial for the crime of being ordinary. But here's the thing about ordinary people. We notice things, we listen, we remember, and we plan. By the summer of 2023, I could feel the marriage ending. Madison had started working out at Planet Fitness. New clothes, new haircuts, coming home energized in ways that had nothing to do with exercise equipment. The signs weren't subtle. Text messages she'd hide when I walked into the room. Phone calls she'd take outside in the backyard. Suddenly needing to run errands that took 3 hours to complete. I could have confronted her, could have demanded to know what was happening, but I'd learned something over the years. Information's more valuable than confrontation. So I watched, I listened, I waited. The first concrete evidence came in August. A charge on our credit card for dinner at Pier W, the expensive restaurant on the lakefront. $87 for 2 people. Problem was, she told me she was having dinner with her sister that night. Her sister, who was diabetic and hadn't eaten at a restaurant in 2 years. Then came the gym membership upgrade from a basic $20 a month plan to a premium $60 package that included personal training sessions with someone named Owen Sullivan. I didn't need to be a detective to connect the dots, but the financial infidelity was just the beginning. Madison started talking about our future differently. Suggestions about selling the house, maybe getting something smaller, comments about how we were carrying too much debt for people our age. That's when I realized what was happening. She wasn't just planning to leave. She was planning to take half of everything she thought we had. The irony was staggering. While she was worried about our supposed debt, I was generating $15,000 a month in rental income. While she stressed about the mortgage on our house, I owned 11 other properties free and clear. While she feared we couldn't afford retirement, I had enough passive income to live comfortably forever. Let me tell you about those properties because Madison had no idea what I'd built while she was embarrassed by my work. After that first duplex in 2008, I became addicted to the process. Property 2 came in 2009, a single-family rental in Parma. The owner was desperate to sell after losing his job at Ford. I got it for $48,000, put $15,000 down, spent $8,000 fixing it up. Within 3 months, I had a young couple paying $850 a month rent. 2011 brought the triplex in Lakewood. This one required more work, but the location was perfect. 3 units, each renting for $600 a month. Total monthly income, $1,800. Mortgage payment, $980. That's $820 a month profit after expenses. By 2013, I'd learned to spot the opportunities. The small apartment building in Cleveland Heights came up during another family's divorce. 4 units, owner financing available. I put down $35,000 and took over payments of $1,200 a month. Those 4 apartments brought in $2,400 monthly. Do the math, that's $1,200 profit every month just from one building. Each property taught me something new. Cash flow analysis, tenant screening, maintenance scheduling, tax advantages. While Madison thought I was just fixing power lines, I was getting a master's degree in real estate investment. The funny thing was, none of this required genius-level intelligence. It required patience, attention to detail, and the willingness to work weekends. 3 things that electrical linemen already have in abundance. By 2015, I owned 7 properties. By 2018, it was 9. And by 2023, when Madison was planning to divorce me for half of nothing, I had 11 rental properties generating $15,000 a month in income. But if I stayed silent, if I let this play out the way she was planning, I'd lose everything. Ohio is a no-fault divorce state, which means the court doesn't care why marriages end. They just divide assets 50-50. The house we'd lived in for 25 years, half to her. My retirement account from 35 years of work, half to her. The savings account she thought was our only nest egg, half to her. But here's where her plan had a fatal flaw. She didn't know about the real estate portfolio. Every property was purchased in my name only, using income she'd never tracked during years when she'd paid no attention to our finances beyond her weekly target runs. Legally, those properties were mine. Morally, well, That depends on how you feel about someone who spends years planning to abandon their marriage the moment it becomes convenient. The kids were part of the plan, too. Logan had started making comments about how Dad's getting older and how maybe it was time for Mom to think about her own happiness. Sophia posted pictures on social media from expensive restaurants and weekend trips that I wasn't included in. Family events where I was either not invited or made to feel like an unwelcome guest. They were already practicing life without me. The breaking point came in early October. Logan called to ask if he could borrow $5,000 for medical school expenses. When I asked for specifics, he got irritated. "Dad, I don't need to justify every expense to you. It's for school." 2 days later, Sophia called with a similar request, $3,500 for her business startup costs. They weren't asking their father for help. They were withdrawing money from what they saw as a joint account they'd be managing soon anyway. That's when I knew I had to act, because if I let this continue, I wouldn't just lose my marriage. I'd lose my self-respect. The confrontation started over dinner on a Tuesday evening in early October. Nothing special, just the four of us around the kitchen table like we'd done thousands of times before. But the undercurrent had changed. Everyone knew something was coming. Madison had made her special pot roast, the one she only cooked when she felt guilty about something. Tyler was home from medical school for a long weekend. Sophia had driven over from her apartment. "This is nice," Madison said, cutting her meat with more precision than necessary, having everyone together. "Yeah," Logan agreed. "We should do this more often, while we still can." The phrasing was deliberate. While we still can, like our family had an expiration date everyone knew about except me. I set down my fork. "Something on your mind, Logan?" He exchanged glances with his mother. "Dad, we've been talking about your future. About Mom's future." "Our future," Madison corrected quickly. "Right. Your future together." I waited. Let them fill the silence. Sophia jumped in. "Dad, you've worked so hard for so many years. Maybe it's time to think about what comes next." "What comes next is retirement," I said. "In 2 weeks." "Right. But after that," Logan continued, "you and Mom might want different things. That's normal. People grow apart." "People grow apart," I repeated. "Or people make choices." Madison's fork clinked against her plate. "Mason, what's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing. Just thinking out loud." Logan leaned forward. "Dad, can I be honest with you?" "I hope so. You've been different lately. Distant. Like you're angry about something." I almost laughed. "Angry?" "Yeah. Like you resent us for some reason. For what reason would I resent you, Logan?" He looked at his mother again. "Maybe because you feel like you didn't achieve what you wanted to achieve, and you're taking it out on the family." The audacity was breathtaking. My son, who'd never worked a day in his life, questioning my achievements. "What did I want to achieve exactly?" Sophia answered. "Dad, you know what we mean. Most people your age have more to show for their careers." "More to show?" I said. "Like what?" "Like ownership of something, a business. Real assets." I nodded slowly. "Real assets. You've been an employee your whole life," Logan said. "There's nothing wrong with that, but..." "But what?" Madison finally spoke up. "But it limits options, Mason. For both of us." "What options are you looking for, Madison?" The use of her full name caught her attention. I only called her Madison when I was serious. "I'm just saying that maybe we both deserve a chance to explore what we want in our next chapter." "Next chapter?" I repeated. "Without each other. That's not what I said. But it's what you meant." The table went quiet. Logan cleared his throat. "Dad, if you and Mom did decide to restructure things, we'd understand." "Restructure things?" "Yeah. Like financially. The house, the savings, all that." I looked around the table at my wife of 35 years, at my son who'd borrowed thousands from me without ever asking where I got it, at my daughter who was embarrassed to tell people what I did for work. "You've given this a lot of thought," I said. "We just want everyone to be happy," Sophia said. "Everyone to be happy." I stood up from the table. "That's interesting." "Where are you going?" Madison asked. "To the garage. Got some thinking to do." "Dad," Logan called after me. "We're just trying to help." I paused at the doorway. "Logan, let me ask you something. When you needed money for medical school, where did you think it came from? What do you mean? 3,000 for applications, 5,000 for expenses. Where did you think I got that money? Your salary. My salary that you just said wasn't enough to build anything meaningful. He didn't answer. Sophia, same question. When you needed a cosigner for 3,000 in student loans, what made you think I'd qualify? Dad, I don't understand what you're getting at. I'm getting at the fact that none of you have ever asked me what I do with my money. You just assume I don't have any. Mason, Madison said carefully, what are you trying to say? I smiled. I'm saying that maybe you should be more curious about the man you're planning to divorce. The word hung in the air like a challenge. Who said anything about divorce? Madison asked. Madison, you've been planning this for months. That's ridiculous. Is Owen Sullivan ridiculous too? The silence that followed told me everything I needed to know. October 15th, 2023. My retirement party at the American Legion Hall on Lorraine Avenue. Madison had insisted on organizing it herself. It's the least I can do, she said, after all these years of service. Looking back, I realized she was setting the stage. The hall was packed. 120 people, maybe more. Co-workers from the power company going back 15 years. Union representatives, neighbors, extended family. Even some of my tenants showed up, which surprised me. I'd never told them about the party. Mr. Crawford treats us like family, said Mia, who lived in my duplex with her 2 kids. When the furnace went out last winter, he had someone there fixing it within 2 hours on Christmas Eve. The party started well. My supervisor, Hunter Mitchell, gave a speech about my safety record. 35 years, 0 serious accidents. Mason Crawford is the guy you want on your crew when the storm hits. Reliable as sunrise. People laughed, applauded, told stories about emergency calls we'd worked together. The ice storm of 2009, the blackout of 2011. Times when the city needed power restored, and we'd made it happen. I felt appreciated, valued. For the first time in months, I remembered why I'd been proud of my work. Logan and Sophia stood near the back, checking their phones. Madison mingled with the crowd, playing the role of proud wife perfectly. She'd even made a scrapbook of photos from my career. The cake cutting went normally, standard retirement party stuff. People making jokes about me having too much free time, asking what I planned to do with myself. I kept my answers vague. Might do some traveling, work on some projects. That's when Madison stood up to make her speech. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight, she began. Mason has worked so hard for so many years. He deserves to be celebrated. Applause, smiles. Everyone thinking this was a normal, loving tribute. Marriage isn't easy when your husband works the kind of dangerous job Mason works. There were nights I didn't know if he'd come home safe. Days when the weather was terrible and I worried about him on those poles. More nods of understanding. Spouses of other linemen knew exactly what she meant. But Mason always came home. He always provided. He always put his family first. The past tense wasn't accidental. I caught it even if nobody else did. Which is why, she continued, this felt like the right time to make an announcement. The room went quiet. This wasn't on the program. Madison reached into her purse and pulled out a manila envelope. Mason, you've worked so hard for so long. You deserve freedom. Real freedom. She handed me the envelope. These are divorce papers. I filed them yesterday. The silence was deafening. 120 people watched me open that envelope and find 14 pages of legal documents requesting dissolution of our marriage. But here's the thing nobody expected. I smiled. Not the smile of someone pretending to be okay. The smile of someone who'd been waiting for this moment. Thank you, Madison, I said calmly. This is very thoughtful. People didn't know how to react. Was this planned? Were we both okay with this? Logan stepped forward. Dad, Mom told us this was happening. We support this decision. We think it's for the best, Sophia added. For both of you. And then Logan said the words that sealed their fate. Honestly, Dad, this might be the best day ever. Sophia laughed. Finally, right? Like my marriage ending was a relief they'd been waiting years to celebrate. The crowd was stunned. People who'd known our family for decades watched my children celebrate their parents' divorce at my retirement party. Kids, Hunter Mitchell said carefully. Maybe this isn't the time or place. No, it's perfect, Madison interrupted. Mason deserves honesty. We all do. I stood up, still holding the divorce papers. The room was dead silent. Madison, this is definitely honest, I said. Very honest. Since we're being honest in front of all these people, maybe I should be honest too. Madison's confidence flickered. What do you mean? I mean, maybe it's time everyone understood what they're really celebrating here. Logan looked nervous. Dad, what are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that your mother has been having an affair with her personal trainer for 8 months. Gasps around the room. Madison went pale. I'm talking about the fact that you both have been planning this divorce for months, thinking you were going to get half of what you assumed I had. Mason, Madison warned, don't what? Don't tell the truth at my own retirement party? I looked around the room. All these people who'd come to honor my 35 years of service. The truth is, Madison filed those papers because she thinks I'm a failure who never achieved anything meaningful. The truth is my children are celebrating because they're embarrassed by what their father does for a living. That's not true, Logan started. The truth is, I continued, none of you have ever asked what I do with the money I make. You just assumed I don't make much. My phone buzzed. Text message. I glanced at it and smiled. Actually, the timing on this is perfect. I just got a text from my property manager. The Cleveland Heights building is officially fully leased. That's building number 11 in case anyone's keeping track. The confusion in the room was palpable. Building number 11? Hunter Mitchell asked. Yeah, the apartment building I bought last year. Goes with the 10 other rental properties I've acquired over the past 15 years. Dead silence. Mason, Madison whispered. What are you saying? I'm saying that while you've been planning to divorce me for half of nothing, I've been generating $15,000 a month in rental income. Logan's face went white. Sophia grabbed the back of a chair for support. I'm saying that your failed husband owns $2.1 million in real estate assets. The room erupted. People started talking all at once. Union representatives who knew my salary were doing math in their heads. Neighbors who'd assumed we were just getting by were recalculating everything they thought they knew about our family. Jackson Torres, my union rep, was grinning. Mason, you magnificent bastard. You've been building an empire while we all thought you were just fixing power lines. I was fixing power lines, I said. That was my day job. My phone rang. I answered it loud enough for everyone to hear. Mr. Crawford, it's Harper from Prestige Property Management. Sorry to bother you, but we just got an offer on the Parma property. Cash buyer asking price wants to close in 30 days. How much? I asked. $250,000. You paid $160,000 for it 3 years ago. $55,000 profit in 3 years. I'll call you tomorrow. I hung up and smiled at Madison. Real estate appreciates, unlike some other investments I've made. Madison was starting to realize the implications. Mason, these properties, are they in your name? All of them. Purchased with income you never tracked during years when you never asked about our finances. A woman in the crowd spoke up. I'm Janet Walsh, attorney. Are these properties community property? No, I said. They're mine. Purchased with my individual earnings, titled in my name only, managed through my business accounts. Janet nodded. Then Mrs. Crawford's divorce filing asks for half of the house and savings account she knows about. I pulled out my phone and showed the crowd my banking app. The savings account she's asking for half of has $8,400 in it. People started laughing. Madison was asking for half of $8,000 while standing next to a man worth over $2 million. She can have my half of the house equity too, I continued. About $24,000 total. So she gets $24,000 total? Logan asked, his voice cracking. Plus whatever Owen Sullivan has in his savings account. I signed the divorce papers in front of everyone and handed them back to Madison. Congratulations on your new freedom. The next 6 months played out exactly as I'd predicted. Madison's divorce lawyer demanded full financial disclosure. When I provided documentation of my 11 properties, his confidence evaporated faster than morning frost. Under Ohio law, Madison could only claim half of assets acquired during marriage with marital funds, but every property was purchased with my individual earnings. Madison received her settlement, $28,500 total. She moved into a one-bedroom apartment in Westlake. Owen Sullivan ended their relationship 2 weeks after the property revelations. Apparently, dating a soon-to-be divorcee with no money wasn't as appealing as he'd thought. Logan's financial reality hit hard. Medical school tuition for his final year came due in January 9, 2000. He'd been counting on family support that no longer existed. He called me 3 days after Christmas. "Dad, I need to borrow $30,000. Borrow implies you plan to pay it back. When would that happen?" "After residency, after I start practicing." "So, 7 years from now?" I let the silence stretch. "Logan, I don't loan money to people who think my personal disasters are the best days ever." He hung up. He took a leave of absence from medical school and got a job at Home Depot, 40 hours a week, 12 an hour. Sophia's business loan application was rejected. Without a co-signer, the bank wouldn't approve her $65,000 startup funding. She called me in February. "Dad, I know you're angry with us, but this is my dream." "What makes you think your dream is my responsibility?" "Because you're my father. Being your father didn't stop you from being embarrassed by my work." She moved back in with Madison to split the rent on the one-bedroom apartment. Today, Tyler works for Cleveland Municipal Power, same company I retired from. He makes $78,000 a year and loves it. "Dad, I want to learn a trade," he told me. "Something real, something useful." Sophia opened her fitness studio 8 months later, not with my money, but with a business loan she qualified for based on her own earnings and business plan. She's successful because she earned it. Madison still lives in Westlake, still wondering what went wrong. I've built something lasting. Not just the properties, but the boundaries. Respect through action, not assumption. If you're watching this, remember, quiet people aren't weak people. Sometimes we're just choosing our battles carefully. And when we're done being quiet, we make sure it counts. Subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Thanks for listening to my story.